What's up everyone, this is Chuck and I'm here in the garden, and I promised you a video on following up with the tomatoes that I planted on this trellis behind me. And so I told you I promised you a video that would follow up and tell you how I maintain them on a single stalk and the way that I prune them to keep them strong and healthy, disease-free, pest-free, and give me the most production. So I'm gonna show you that. But before I get started there, I wanted to show off my brand new hat. I hope you all like it. I was looking for a huge, gaudy garden hat, and I think I found it. Let me know in the comments if you think I found it. I think I found it. But what I like the most about it is, like, yeah, it's stylish, but I'm not into that much. But I like that it covers the back of my neck, because the back of my neck, because it's been getting sunburned a lot wearing regular baseball caps, and so I like that. Feels a lot better. Okay, let's get to these tomatoes. So this tomato right here that I'm gonna show you first is the one that I actually planted in the how to plant tomatoes video, which I'll try to link somewhere on the screen if you missed that, just so you can have a reference of how it looked and what we're doing and where we're coming from. But I want to show you these other ones that I've already did. I wanted to do them just to give you an idea of how it's supposed to look, and then do the last part, the last plant with you, just so you know how I got where I'm going. So if you come over here, as you can see, all of the leaves compared to the one I just showed you are gone. It was overgrown over here, just on the ground, falling off the bed, filled with leaves. You couldn't see anything. The airflow was very poor. We've had tons of rain lately and regularly, which is not normal for Denver. And it's been super hot and then super cool and then lots of rain, and so those are all amazing things for lots of growth. But if you don't take care of your plants and you don't prune them, those are also things for pests and disease. And so the number one thing with tomatoes is you don't want the leaves to touch the soil, and you don't want the leaves to be close to the soil. And one of the reasons is when it does rain, the splashback from the soil has tons of bacteria in it, which is not all good bacteria, and that will splash back and get on the bottoms of the leaves, and then that causes blight and other fungal diseases from starting happening, and then it spreads on the plant and spreads to the plants next to it, and you don't want any of that. You want to keep your plants green and healthy. I like to keep them on a single stalk if possible, which you can see here, similar to a tree. Or here I actually left two because they're both very good. I didn't catch the second one, or else I would have just had one single stalk. You can see there's flowers over here blooming. There's some tomatoes coming on already, and there's lots of airflow, plenty of foliage for photosynthesis and for the plant to continue to grow. And so this plant is gonna take off when it comes to flowers. The same thing here, it has more than one stalk. It has two. I did tie it with some twine. You want to use some organic natural fibers. You don't want to use a wire or plastic, because when the wind blows and things like that, it will actually dig in and cut your plant, and then that will leave an opening for pests and cause other problems. It could even cut the plant off or kill it. Of course, you don't want to do that. So if you use something that's made out of plant matter, it will be better for the plant, also for the environment, of course. And this has a lot more airflow. It's now standing upright. It was laying down this way. The critters and whatever else was gonna get the fruit, but now these really look amazing. They look strong. And then the same thing with this third one that I did. I tied it up in several places, and this one I actually have 3 stalks on it because it's doing so well. As you'll see when I get started on this cutting, You're gonna think I'm crazy for cutting off so much. Sometimes there's lots of blossoms and it's really difficult to do that. But I guarantee you that when your plant is able to have lots of airflow, lots of sunshine, you fertilize it, you water it consistently, it would perform a lot better. I know it's sad. I know it's almost July. These tomatoes are gonna go until the snow comes, and you'll see that as we go along this season. But they're also gonna just burst with flowers and blooms. They already have a ton, as you can see here. Bunches of new blossoms coming, bunches of blossoms already open, bunches of new tomatoes already coming out, and even here on the bottom some more baby tomatoes, if you can see that there. And so it's just gonna thrive even more. I expect it to reach up to the top of this trellis easily in another month. It's gone this far in just a month that I've planted it, and you see it's about a foot left to the top, and we have a couple of months left of the season, so it's definitely gonna get to there, and that's fine. We'll just take it as far as we can go, and after that we'll let it go. So let's get started on this one. So it's gonna be a little bit difficult to show you just because of all the growth, so I'm just gonna let you watch me for a little bit, and then when I get to a breaking point, I'll pause and explain what I'm doing. So far, as you can see, it's kind of drastic, kind of painful, right? There was some blossoms, some really good growth, but it's all gonna pay off in the end. I wanna show you something on this particular plant, which is different than the other three that I did. So on this plant, it actually has several very strong stalks. I didn't keep up with it as soon as I should have, as early on as I should have, and so this is a dilemma that I'm facing. If I would have done it early on, I could have kept it down to one, if not maybe two like the other ones. But this one really took off. You can see how thick the branches are and how many blooms are all over the place. And so it's a really difficult decision to know how many stalks I should allow this plant to have. But because this is at the end of the bed, which there's not a tomato plant on this side, it can go as much as it wants this way because it's not going to interfere with another plant. Unlike the other plants in the center where there's room on the left and right for there's not room on the left and right because there's touching plants. So that kind of saved this stalk with these two branches. Even though they're kind of heavy already, I'm going to be able to twine them up to the trellis just to keep them in an upward motion, keep them growing upward and off of the ground. What I don't want are these leaves touching the bed or anywhere around the dirt or close to the dirt. I don't want that. So I'm gonna twine these two up on this end, and then if I need to take off some of these leaves, I'm gonna take that off. Another thing I wanted to show you is this part. So here you have the stalk, and then you have the blossoms, which turn into tomatoes, and then you have the leaf, which is the sun leaf, right? It gets the sun turns into food, and the plant does what it does. And then in here, if you look right here, you have in between this leaf and the stalk, you have this plant growing out. And if you let this continue, it will create another stalk, and that's what happened, and that's why we have so many. So this is called a sucker, and it's called a sucker because it sucks the energy out of the plant and focuses on new growth. Well, we're in the part of the season where we don't need new growth. We need food, we need production. So we're not baby plants anymore. And so you're just gonna pinch this off. Just like that. There's nothing here anymore. That allows for more airflow because there's less leaves. That's not gonna make another sucker there. And it will continue to make more blossoms, which is tomatoes, which you can see here is another cluster of blossoms. So there's gonna be a cluster of tomatoes here, one here, and then because we pruned this back so heavily, there'll be clusters popping up all over the place, already more like here than there already are. And so that's what we're gonna do on this side of this plant. Like I said, only because there's not a plant here. If there was a plant here on this side, I would have to decide if I'm able to pull these up centered away from this plant enough, or just cut the sides off and leave this single base. Here you can see it's one stem, so I would have to cut this whole thing off and pick this one up if there was another plant next to it, because we don't want them too close together. If you look in here, coming off from the main stem, so this is the main stem there, there's this whole other branch, and it has blooms and lots of new growth. But as you can see, it's growing right into the next door neighbor's house. It's touching the dirt. It's actually on top of this basil plant that I planted from seed. And so if I continue to allow it to grow, it's gonna get a bit heavy because it's gonna have tomatoes on it. It's gonna be falling off. Animals like squirrels, like rabbits, like whatever other animals can reach from the ground up are gonna pick my tomatoes, or climb up on the vines and get in here and get all of my tomatoes. And so this is the dilemma that I'm facing, is am I able to tie this up with twine and help it grow upward and save this branch and allow another place for more production, or am I gonna just have to chop it off at the base and keep what I have on the other side? So these two plants right here are the same kind, so it's not like I'm gonna lose the amount of tomatoes I'm getting. These are both doing very well. They're full of blooms. They even have baby tomatoes on them. But this is gonna block airflow. This is gonna, it's close to the dirt. It's gonna create disease. It's already covering this herb. Even if I were to tie it up, you can see this trellis is already full. It's already being taken. So I think I'm actually just gonna cut it. And I know people might disagree, or people might do their own thing. And that's what gardening is about, is that there is no one way. There's whatever way you want to do it. And what I want to do with this plant is cut this branch off here, because it's only going to block this on the trellis. It's growing over here. And without it, there'll be lots more airflow, plenty of more growth growing up. And this way here, plenty of growth coming up and outward here. So this is just gonna cause more problems than good. And so I'm okay with that. There's no tomatoes yet. There's just blossoms, and we have tons of blossoms. So we're not gonna miss anything or lose anything. So I'm just gonna cut it. Cut it. So this plant is gonna be a lot happier because it has sun and air. And this tomato as well is gonna do a lot better. It's gonna grow these 3 different ways. I am gonna twine it up a little bit just to keep it upwards and keep it off the bed like I said, but we're in good shape now. And then if you come here and look from this angle, you can see now that everything is see-through. You can see through everything, which is good. That means the air can get through it all. So you saw how it looked before. Put a picture of that in case you missed it. But now you can see the difference. And when I do the garden tour, I'll be able to point out the new growth that has happened since I posted this video. And so that's really awesome. And then on this side, of course, is all the lettuces that I have harvested so far that are amazing and delicious. But I'll cover all of that in the garden tour. Anytime you do anything with your plants as far as pruning them, harvesting from them, or just maintaining them, you should always fertilize them. You should always give them an extra boost of nutrients, especially when it's 100 degrees every day, or when it just had lots of rain, or whenever you did some major pruning like I just did. That's always gonna help the plant bounce back stronger, help reduce the stress from the changes that you've made, and help it kick it into production, which is its natural reaction after a big pruning like that. And so I'm using some organic fertilizer that you water in. I'm just gonna sprinkle it around the base of the plant and water it in like I normally would. And I don't think I showed you what I did before, but I also dug these trenches on all of the tomatoes. You can see down the row. And so I just water the dirt. I fill these holes with water. I only water as far as these holes can fill. And then that's it. I don't spray the plants because, like I said, we don't want splashback. And they do better that way. It helps the roots dig deep when they're thirsty. I don't water them every day. I water them 3 times a week, and I water them consistently. So I actually water them Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. And if it rains or not, it rains or not. Where I live, the rain isn't regular, and even if it's gonna rain, it's not enough. And so I water consistently. I'm gonna sprinkle some fertilizer there on all 4 of these plants. Another video about mulch and the importance of mulch. That's all for now. So this is the part 2 video of how to plant tomatoes and grow tomatoes. I hope you're enjoying the series this season. This is my first time. Also, make sure you like, you comment, you subscribe, you share, you tell your friends and neighbors. Like I said, I believe there's no one way of the garden, but your way is the way. We all learn together, we all learn our own ways, and we all do what works for us. Maybe this is too much work for you. Sometimes it is for me. In my personal garden that I talk about, I don't do it because I don't have the time. And so it's not that I'm lazy or I don't want to. It's that I'm so busy doing the other gardens for the other purposes that I'm doing, trying to keep those afloat, that I actually use cages. And I'm not a big cage fan, but those are good enough. So if you're a good enough gardener, cages work. You don't have to prune it. You might get some disease and problems, but you'll get tomatoes either way. This way you get a lot more. That's why I do it, because I have more to sell. But the other way, I get plenty and I make tons of sauce and share all with my family and friends. And so, thanks for stopping by. And remember, always remember, hello, I'm not done.
What?
And always remember, you are loved. Okay.